God, food and everything. You guys are spoiled. Spoiled. Probably deserve it after this long year, but. Well, to say we're excited would be an understatement. Our mantra all of the postseason has been to win the weekend. And it hasn't changed any, but we do realize it's one game at a time and that our margin for error is still small. But being connected like we've been, I think we're ready for this task. The connectivity has made this team a very special team in a lot of ways, but the team has had success because it doesn't get too far ahead of itself. It truly has taken things one game at a time. It's, I think everybody wants to win a national championship when you come to college, and sometimes you dream too far ahead. This team hasn't done that. Right now, all we're concentrating on is Texas Tech. My staff and I looked at all three teams Sunday and Monday, or Sunday night and Monday, and the attention goes on Texas Tech. If we get the opportunity to advance, then that's what those long nights will be for on Saturday night and Sunday. Not much to say any different than we've already said. You know, this team is mentally as tough as any of I've had. And what excites me is what some of the former players have said to our guys, you know, it's time for you to get your piece of history here. Your, as I say, your footprint in the sand, your banner on the ceiling, whatever makes people remember about you long after you're gone. And it's a great credit to my staff and players that through all they've been through, they have a chance to do that. Texas Tech, I think they won 13 out of 14 games. They're said to be the best defensive team in America, and after watching film, I would say they live up to that. They get a lot of steals. They get 17 points off turnovers a game. Where they've gotten better is they're starting to shoot the ball better. They're better offensively. The kid Colvert is a definite pro prospect, and yet they've got some other guys that are very good. Moretti, the guy from Italy, is a good shooter. Maybe in their league has talked about being one of the best shooters in the country. And Chris Barrett has done an unbelievable job. You know, Bobby Knight, disciple, but he's been a disciple of a lot of people. But I think you'll see a lot of the Bobby Knight characteristics in his team, the motion offense, the way they move, the way they guard. He's done a phenomenal job. He's got, you know, we talk about getting older. He's got a very, very old team. I think he's got 5 redshirt or 4 redshirt seniors on his team, some grad transfers. He's got, you know, very few freshmen that are integral parts of their team, and so it's a veteran team in different ways. So all that being said, I'll open it up.
Tom, I was wondering if, I don't think he was ever really definitive. Would you expect Kyle to be able to play at all this weekend?
I don't expect him to play at all. I saw him running on the treadmill yesterday and gave him the 3 thumbs up, but it's 99.5% that he will not be ready to play. If got to the point where we could suit him up, case in case, I'm sure we would, but I'd be able to inform you of that. Again, I don't hide stuff like that. But as of right now, he hasn't touched the floor.
And then a second thing, forgive me if this is going too far ahead, but would you recommend any of your guys going through the NBA feedback situation like Nick did last year after this season, or is that too far ahead to even think about?
Well, I appreciate the way you said it. Is it too far? But I will say it in a non-insulting way that we're playing in a Final Four. It's probably the last thing from my mind, and I think what's different about this team is the last thing from their mind. And I would just say that I would be more than happy to answer that question a week and a couple days from now, but I wouldn't want anything else but them focused on. I got enough outside people focusing on everything else. So I do appreciate the sincerity. You have the right to ask the question. I have the right to not insultingly say, but are you crazy? I'm playing in the Final Four there. How's that? I got my 2 cents in, but I would have said it a little differently, but I've cleaned up my act, as you noticed. So, ready to go.
Tom, you alluded to this a moment ago with the age of Texas Tech, but of all the Final Four teams, your team is most reliant on freshman scoring of any of the 4, which is stunning. Does it talk about possibly a seismic shift coming back to reality with basketball with the one and done?
You know, again, I don't know those questions, but I have been amazed that the little I've heard or the questions at all the interviews I've done, I think more people are leaning to, is this such a good way? You know, it brought up so much. It was so hard for us because I remember just a year or 2 ago, I told you all that if when Miles could have left, if he would have left and been a top 10 pick, it was probably better for our program than if he stays and wins a national championship. Now that was kind of as sick of me to say as your question, but at the same time, your question's reality, so is mine. And I think that it's hard to win with freshmen. It's hard to win with a lot of freshmen. It's hard to win with key freshmen, no matter how good they are. Experience does matter, and I don't know what it'll do, but it's got a lot of people thinking and talking. And you know, I just think that even like using Kenny, you know, yesterday we had a meeting, so we get all our tickets, hotels, parental things out of the way. It was, hey Kenny, you remember this? Hey Kenny, you remember that? Hey Kenny, make sure you tell the players about this, because at least he went to one. And so I think experience does matter. I don't know if it'll be a seismic change, but I think people are going to start looking at things a little differently. You know, it's hard to try to get these super teams, even in the NBA or NFL, you know. You still need people that get along, people to understand their roles, and everybody can't be the leading scorer, everybody can't be the best player. And when you're fighting about things like that, it's hard to deal with them. And if you don't have any leadership, remember the Izzo way, a player-coach team is better than a coach-coach team, because players are around each other like in an hour. They'll be in the locker room talking. There'll be no coaches around. They'll be in there after at the meal tonight talking, and that's where a lot of work gets done. And every game, and I'll say it again to Cassius and Josh and Matt, you know, remember now the games are going to be won. What goes on the next couple days on the plane, the hotel, the practices. And if you don't have any experience telling you that, I give a lot of credit to what John Calipari has done and what Mike has done, and they've won a lot of games, but there is nothing. And when they had their most success, there were a couple of key upperclassmen, I think. It's just hard to do.
I know you love Twitter and you're on it all the time, so maybe,
all the time.
Maybe
on it all last night.
Maybe you haven't seen some of these things. Maybe someone showed you. There's a ton of clips on there of people videoing themselves reacting to Michigan State winning. You know, the alumni groups and just guys in living rooms watching and going crazy and screaming and running around houses. I'm just wondering, that combined with what you guys came back to the other night in the arena helps you kind of understand and appreciate even more. It's big for you guys, but what this means to, I guess, a fan base and school as a whole.
I don't know if it's the best question, it's the most important one to me, because I saw one video. It was of Khalil Mack in his Bulls uniform pretending to be a basketball player, which I might even talk to him about today, you know, see if he has any eligibility or wants to come up. But what I came back to the other night, for me, was it just says it all, you know, looking out there and seeing more people than in my hometown. It's been exciting. We've had some great welcomings over the years, never one this late or this big. And the credit goes to this arena, to our marketing people, to our police who came out and did such, I mean, we came back and the players couldn't believe the parking lot was packed. There's always people that are involved in that, but it wasn't the number, it was the passion that number had that night. And I have gotten letters, we always get letters or emails from all over the country, but I think because of, you know, we've been through a lot here. I think people, it's part of the process of people just expressing the platform we have and what it can do in a positive way. And if I could be a small part of that, that's as good as it gets. And you know, that and the fact that you put that with what Irvin said to our team at that breakfast, you know, about 40 years. Is that Earl's wife again? Earl's not even here. He's probably with his wife, so that can't be the fact. Anyway, you know, when he talked about it's been 40 years, because I always say the memories you have, you can affect so many other people. You talk about all those things, and here arguably, definitely one of the greatest players that ever played the game is telling him the same thing without any, you know, how important it is. He could rattle off everything that happened, and he talked about the impact it had on Lansing. He talked about the parade, all the things that affect so many other people. So that night was special to me because it was later than normal, it was bigger than normal, and it was louder than normal.